So this video we're going to be working on the rear subframe again, and I got all the bushings and all the other parts from Volvo, so we're going to be pressing all those in and hopefully getting all the bushings in that subframe and starting to put together the thing and put on the lower upper control arms and all the accessories, and we can hopefully try and get that pretty well situated while we're waiting on some of our other parts to be manufactured. Also got the brand new control arms, upper control arms in from Volvo. They look really nice, so I'm gonna get these all prepped up with this 415 so that they don't turn into the disaster that the old ones turned into. Like that. I probably didn't need to replace them since there's really no bushings or any wear items on these, but I mean, those ones were just getting really corroded, and I figure if I'm doing this, I might as well do it right and replace all the critical components. So let's get these painted up. And then also got, where is it? Get the viscous coupler cleaned up. So we're gonna throw some paint on that. And also got the top cover for the subframe primed. Well, starting to prime it. And then we're cleaning up these wheel hubs that I'm gonna hit with 415 as well. Got one of them cleaned up. Still gotta do the other one. And that cleaned up with 415 and playing around with some angle gearbox stuff. So we started doing some of the bushing install. The first one are these 916, 931L. And basically we get one bushing in each control arm, here and here. And also on the subframe, we get a bushing here and here. And I already went ahead and put this one in. Basically just cleaned up this inner hole from some of the painting, and I oiled it up a little bit, and then basically I used a little heat down here to kind of try and help expand this a little bit for it to slide in, and it went in pretty well by just giving it a couple taps. Fortunately, since I used engine enamel, the heat really doesn't affect this, and I was quite surprised because I was heating this up pretty well and the paint was just staying perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this other one. You can see when I was drilling out the other ones, I went a little too deep, but that's okay. There's plenty of meat up here. And then we got other bushings that I will show later when we get to those. So I got both those bushings in the subframe. They look really nice with the paint and everything. But I'm not too fond of heating it up and hitting it with a dead blow because I really just don't want to damage the subframe. So I think I'm going to try and order a bushing puller set to actually pull them into the bores instead of beating the crap out of them, so I don't damage the subframe at all, because it's not going to be easy to get another one of these if I crack this. So I think I'm going to go with that approach for the rest of them. So starting to work on the subframe again, and I had to take a break for a couple days because I wanted to order this bushing push and pull tool, I guess you can call it. Basically what it is a bunch of these different diameter rods and a bunch of these cups. It comes with a whole bunch of different size cups and whatnot. Basically what this is going to allow you to do is, we take a look at the bushing, we can see basically we have a metal sleeve, and then the bushing is like vulcanized into that metal sleeve. And when we come over here, trying to get this bushing in, it's all metal on metal. And there's really not a lot of room here for a hammer or anything like I did these two. So we have to use this tool, and basically what we want to do is we want to find a sleeve that perfectly can fit over this little metal lip right here. So in this case, we can use this 58mm sleeve, and you can see that fits perfectly over that lip. And that's going to go on this side of things. And then we're going to get this metal rod here, and we're going to thread the rod through the sleeve. Hard to do with one hand. And we also want to thread the bushing into it. And now with that done, we can slide that through there. So now you can see we got this. And basically we're going to get another sleeve, a sleeve that's bigger than, bigger than this hole that we can use to go around it. So I don't know, let's pick something arbitrary out like such. Doesn't have to be this exact sleeve. This probably wouldn't be a good choice, but we'll get a sleeve that'll fit that better. And then basically we put this nut on, and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna tighten down this nut, and it's actually gonna pull the bushing into the bore. So I'm gonna throw this on the tripod, the camera on the tripod, and we can see how this works. Look like we got this sleeve. We tighten this one all the way up so that the bushing is just starting to go into the bore. And then we also got this one over here, and this one is pressing against here. This doesn't have to be that big because this bushing is not going to come all the way through where it has to go inside of this. So using this size is fine. It's kind of doesn't really fit the best, this one, but it should work fine. But we're going to clean this bore out. We're going to lube up this bushing, possibly heat this up a little bit, and then we can basically start torquing this down. It should pull it right in. So I got this all ready. Basically, we got this wrench that we're going to put on this side, and then this side we're going to crank down. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that bushing is being pulled in to the bore. Or being pulled, yeah, pulled into the bore. And you can see slowly but surely we are making progress. Hold this down. So I'm going to keep working this one in, and then we can start working on the other ones. And again, the part number for this bushing is 916-9310. So the next bushing I'm going to pull in is this one. It is 914-0469, and it goes right here. And basically it has this little notch thingy right here. And from looking at old pictures, that always points out towards the outside of the subframe. So it's going to go in something like that. And this is a seems to be a plastic sleeve, so I'm gonna be extra careful with this one so I don't crack it. But I'm gonna get that one pulled in. I got this one all the way in. You can see that I couldn't get it to go in all the way because the sleeve outer diameter is a little bit too it's too thick, so I couldn't get it to seat it perfectly, but that should be good enough. From what I remember, the original ones weren't fully seated anyway. All right, so we got this one all set up, and we're gonna start pulling it in. And you can see it slides in nice and easily. Basically keep cranking this until it stops cranking. So now it's tightening up, and that's probably about as far as it's going to go. So this really does make things easy. You just got to make sure this rod doesn't get bent. Mine, putting this one in, got bent a little bit, and I had to bend it back into shape and cut a little portion off, because if it does get bent, then basically it doesn't really go in straight when it starts, and it kind of makes things annoying. Really well. You got them all pushed in, or pulled in, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, so we got all the bushings in the main subframe now. And next we also got this stuff over here drying. But next we got to put bushings in these guys, which are the front trailing arm mounts. So we got a bushing in each one of those. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. And then we also gotta press or pull a bushing into here. And then the bushings that go in here don't need to be pulled, and they kind of just sandwich together. So we almost have all the bushings done, which is nice because these bushings are getting kind of annoying to put in because there's so many, but it's gonna be a really freshened, tight subframe, which I think is gonna make the rear feel really good. So let's keep chugging along. All right, next up, we have these guys. These are 1273778. You guys can see that. But for this one, I stepped it up to the big M18 stud, and we got a 26, and I'm just holding it with some vice grips over here because I don't have a box end in a 26. And we're just gonna start cranking this thing, and hopefully it should pull right in. Yeah, I'll get a better grip on this. So you can see this part's actually getting too long. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna loosen this up, and then I'm gonna thread this all the way back to the end and then tighten this up. And then that should allow me to start the process over again, but without running out of thread. So we'll back this out. And then we'll tighten this over here again. Grab this, and now we can start the process over again. Ahead, and I got this second one pushed in. It's perfectly flat. So we got these all done now. And lastly, we just got to push or pull in these ones, and they go into here. These ones are no longer available. This part number doesn't even actually exist. There's a Volvo part number on it, but it doesn't exist. So I guess you have to buy new lower control arms if you want a new one of those bushings, but it was like $300 each, and mine were in pretty good condition. So I said I'm just gonna leave them. So we're just gonna replace these ones, and these ones just sandwich in. So let's get to it and get those in. All right, so next we have the lower control arm bushings, and these ones are 916. 9310, and they're the same ones as the lower control arm bushings that go in the subframe. So let's get to cranking this thing in. This one should be pretty easy. It's just going right in. This bearing pull tool is really helpful. Just like that, that one's in. Went ahead and got the second one pressed in. Those ones went in real nice and easy. So yeah, we basically have everything, all the bushings installed now. We have all the bushings in the subframe installed. We have all the bushings in the trailing arm mounts installed, all the bushings in the lower control arms, and now we're just waiting for this pour 15 to dry for the upper control arms and hubs, and also waiting for some bolts from Volvo. I bought all new hardware for everything. All new hardware for the control arms, all new hardware for the diff mount plate, like everything. So we're waiting for that to come in. And I also bought all new brake lines. So once that stuff comes in, we can hopefully start putting this whole thing together, and it's gonna look awesome. I also bought like all the hardware for the front trailing arms and the stay bars, and we also bought new end links. So we're really close to slapping this thing together, and I just need to buy my suspension, and I'm gonna do a video on what I'm doing for suspension wise, and we'll get that put out too, and I think it's gonna be pretty informative and pretty cool for you guys. So I'm gonna wait for the hardware to come, and I'll probably continue this video and another day, and basically pick up from there and basically post this as one big video. Got another parts order in, basically a ton of hardware, almost all the bolts, or pretty much all the bolts actually, for the rear subframe. This is just all bolts and nuts. Also waiting on the new brake line for the subframe and also the brake line for the chassis. And then I also ordered all the new parking brake components and a whole bunch of other stuff. So we should have everything to completely put this thing together, and I'm gonna start basically, I guess, hand tightening all the bolts up and getting them in the right position, because there are so many different bolts. It's crazy. So I'll probably start putting in the lower control arms and start throwing some of this stuff together. We got the bolts for the lower control arms. These are 985-200, and the nuts are 985-870. So these are the bolts and nuts for the lower control arm bushings. So we'll get those slapped in and start putting more of this together. So next up, we got the upper control arms. Basically got a bolt that goes in here, and then we have a bolt and nut that goes through here. So the bolt is 982-850, the nuts are 985-870, and the bolts are 985-050. There's actually a bunch of these ones. These are used for not only the bolt here for the upper control arm, but it's also the same for all the bolts that hold the cover plate on for the diff. So we'll go ahead and get those mocked up. Do the other side, same bolts, and then maybe we can throw the hubs on. Still got to get the suspension figured out. I'm still kind of working on that. I know what I want to do strut wise, but you know, spring wise and perch wise, I haven't exactly figured it all out yet, but I want to start throwing together some of this stuff and start seeing what it looks like. So yeah, started putting some things together. Just waiting on a couple more things for the hubs, and I forgot to order bolts for the lower control arms to the hubs, but the stays and everything, I got all the bolts for those. I got all these bolts for the top, still waiting on 2 more of those, and I got some of these. I don't know exactly where those go yet, I have to look it up, but yeah, I'm probably gonna wrap this video up. We got all the bushings pressed in, we got everything fully painted, we started assembling things, we got all the bolts, so we're waiting for a couple more things, and hopefully we can do a final subframe video, and then we're gonna do a diff rebuild video, probably an angle gear rebuild video, and a update on my build angle gear project, and also a video on the M58 over there. So we got a ton of content coming up, guys. So hope you're looking forward to it, and hopefully I can start putting out a little bit longer content.